All right, guys, today's video is woods improvements using native species. One of the most simplest forms of food plotting. That's the way I view this when you're adding natives in here. You're basically turning your woods into the plot and going beyond what you normally consider a food plot. So over here, I have cut down many competing species with this oak tree. A lot of these tree sprouts that came back were nipped on, eat on, and now they've gotten a little bit too big for deer's liking. The taste quality has been reduced because you're working on a root system, and a full-size root system. So the bigger these guys get to match the roots, the nutrition in the leaves decline. So I will be coming back in here again and knocking these guys down so the deer can browse on them. But it's still important to add native species to the woods. So I'm going to show a few things here. We have poison ivy, we have Virginia creeper vines in here. I mean, there's everything growing in here wherever the sunlight is getting into that deer are hitting. So you have whatever seed bank is in your soil, and you're using that to add food for the deer, because deer will browse all this. There's no shortage of food here in my woods. And I'll show you some of these tree sprouts here the deer have come back and nipped on. So sometimes it's just as simple as cutting big trees down and let the deer feed off of these stump sprouts for a while. You can get a few years out of them. The other option is to add native species. So for instance, not only does this food plot provide me food for the deer, even though this is a horrendous looking food plot right now, I'm referring to now the edging of this food plot. I have increased the light in here so much more than what it used to be, because it was dark in that barren patch of nothing growing. That's what this whole island used to look like. So even if I didn't have my food planted in here, what is growing back as natives is definitely assisting the deer, because there was just absolutely no food whatsoever. So this area along the edge now is providing great feeding opportunities, and I can't tell you how many times from that camera over there I have caught those deer eating all along this roadbed edge here. They also are eating down into here. You can see poison ivy and vines growing all down through there. There's also the non-version of poison ivy in there. There's also a native species that a lot of people have a hard time messing with it, and because it sticks to your clothes. So if I can find it here, I'll show you what I'm talking about, because I had some sticking up in here. But anyway, just to keep the video going, bagger lice is something deer eat. Bagger lice is like the native species version of soybean. Bagger lice has up to 40% protein in it. Very important native species for deer. Now, granted, the side effects of bagger lice is all those nasty things clinging to your clothes, but you are offering an extremely high protein level for the deer. 20 is, like I said before, 20 is the benchmark for growing big deer. So you're doubling that benchmark with bagger lice. The other thing here, these are some old tree stump sprouts from a black gum. Deer have been annihilating black gum sprouts all through here. So natives are adding food in my forest or in my woods. And generally there's a stepping ladder as far as rank for deer when it comes to good quality food in the native species world. If you see deer eating a lot of honeysuckle, which is considered native to some people, that is a mid-level plant. So I want deer browsing on something higher. So poison ivy and the other similar species that are related to this are more on the upper end of quality for deer. Now let's say that you don't have maybe the ability to wait for natives to come in, or maybe you want to diverse yourself even more. So I would use that option, diverse yourself. So I've added plants along the edge of this food plot, like this blackberry. All right, this thing had grown that much before this tree had fell. Now it's gaining a lot more light. You can see where the deer have browsed this off. However, this is a special blackberry. This is a thornless blackberry. So I can rake my hand all up in this, and there are no thistles in that blackberry. I have discovered that deer tend to eat these even harder than your thorn ones. It's just easier for deer to access. I would highly recommend trying thornless blackberries and put it anywhere that you've got a pretty good amount of sunlight, or even a decent amount of sunlight, because he was still growing before that big hole opened up. So now I've got all this light going in here, and this guy's going to take off even faster and grow thicker. So I have plenty of opportunity right here. Once I clean this off, I can go back and add more thornless blackberries, or over here I have an additional native species, and that is American Beautyberry. And let's see here, it should be right over here. Yep, here he is. So I've got plenty of food in here, not really a problem. Although I will say this, the more light that it gets, the better the nutrition level tends to be. I've had a nice stick fall on it here, but this is American Beautyberry, and it has many benefits to deer as well as people. You can actually create an insect pellet with this, and it's way stronger than DEET. So if you're always scared to death of using some sort of chemical to keep bugs off of you, this is a natural repellent that is a lot stronger. And I could do a video on how to create that, but these leaves is what you need in order to do that. Also, the berries that these guys produce is a natural stomach settler. So if you have nausea, you can eat these berries and it calms your stomach down. Same goes for deer. If they're having a rough day, they can nibble on those berries and it will calm their stomach down, so you can get them going back to eating faster on their natives. Now out here, this has been laying here now for, I guess, 2 years, a little longer than 2 years now. So you can see how fast this area is trying to grow back up with what's available from the soil as far as seed bank and or stump sprouts here. This is a locust tree. Deer eat locust trees. They also eat the honey locusts. I don't recommend having them there, but yeah, they are something that deer eat, but the thorns are just nasty, nasty, nasty. And people think that locust is bad with thorns. Honey locust is far worse. We're talking thorns that big or bigger. So you don't want to fall into one of those trees. But because I cut this tree down, these sprouts have come back, and I found browse on many of these early in the year. They were eating off the very ends of these. This died off from deer browse right here. This right here was eaten off at the very end. And now this is before the drought hit. So the browse has backed off big time in here, but I can see it starting to grow again, and they probably will begin to hit again. So if you have a different situation and you have a whole bunch of pine trees, you have a golden, or even cedar trees, you have a golden opportunity to maybe thin a few of those out to get some light in here and get some native species to grow in here. These are what we call pawpaw trees. We didn't really have any of these growing in here, and then when I cut down the trees, it left a nice hole up here, and suddenly there they are. So there's no telling how long that seed bank has been dormant under that soil, and now they're taking off. So we'll see if they ever produce anything. Pawpaws are good by some people and some are not, as far as you consuming any of the fruits. Just depends on your taste preference. But like I say, adding natives to your property, especially small tracts of land, by doing so, you have created a huge food plot. So my plots, you know, a plot this small is not designed to really put weight on deer. It sure attracts them in if it is working right, of course. Obviously, this is only a small percentage of what I want it to look like, but you can only feed so many deer on a tract of land that's a 1/4 acre, versus what if 90% of my woods is able to feed deer? How many deer could I hold? Well, there's more than 5 acres of woodland up here that we own. So this is becoming, it's not a 5-acre food plot because there are dead spots where nothing's growing, but the vast majority of my woods is now covered in food. Right here is some bagger lice. Some of them make these long sprouts, and when it's got enough sunlight, it will pop leaves out up on that stem, which it's not doing. This one, let's see here, might have to find a better example. Well, yeah, this will work. So that's your bagger lice. It looks similar to soybean. There are subversions and different variants, but that's bagger lice right there. And that will spread in here, which I am fine with that. That is a really high protein plant, like I stated before. So if you're reviewing your woods and all you've got is food plots on your property, but your deer just don't seem to be hitting your weight goals, or maybe even your antler size goals, if your woods is as barren as that spot right there, that's your missing piece to the puzzle. So my property line runs up this way, and basically all that dead zone way over there, that's my neighbor's property. These trees here were thinned a little bit, and you can see the dead ones that's been laying here from a long time ago. We thinned them down a little bit, and then all this stuff here came up. Now granted, the canopy is starting to cover itself again. Obviously the amount of light in here is greatly reduced, and I'm starting to see some reduction in coverage again. But by trimming some of those trees out, we were able to add a lot of valuable food. Even over here, I knocked down a few trees here to help with sunlight problems. That tree was an invasive species, which was tree of heaven, and golden opportunity. It's dead. There's no sprouts on it. It's done. So that opened up the door for more light, and we have new plants filling in pretty nicely back in here. You can see a green hedge right there. So by at least opening up your sunlight areas in here, you're gaining valuable food for the deer. So this is one of the reasons my deer are hanging around a lot more than they used to, is not only do I get really high quality food now out of the food plot, but I'm getting it up here as well. So all this right here has been browsed in the past, and especially toward the fall time, deer really hammer this poison ivy. I mean, they will scalp it down. So that helps my food plot when it comes to reseeding for the fall and winter blends. That allows deer to eat up here and reduce pressure on my plot. Here we go. Bagger lice. Look at that. Deer browsed it right off. So some deer, whether it's a buck or a doe, has gained valuable protein and minerals, and then you deal with that part. That's the part everybody hates to get on their clothes. Come on, camera. There you go. Everybody hates that. But the effects on deer are much better, and I don't mind getting these on me too badly. I mean, granted, it does suck if you have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of them on you, but I know it's actually benefiting my deer. This one here's loaded. You can imagine what would happen there if it got on your clothes. That would be a rough day for the laundry. All right, guys, so there's you a short video on native species. Like I say, if you got a bunch of pines, cedars, sunlight can't get down in there, and you got a desert under there, clear a few of them out. Get you some sunlight in here and get some natives. You can go out and purchase natives if you don't have them. I mean, there's ways of doing this and still be successful. So there's also the fact that some of you will come to find out that you have a much better seed bank of native species under here than other people do. Sometimes it may have gone so long that the seeds themselves may have just lost their energy to do it. Or maybe it was a bad spot to start with, and in the history of your property, maybe something prevented natives from growing there. It's just kind of, you have to learn these things on your property. But I have a very high seed bank here. It's just I got poor soil that it's growing in. So again, if you're out of space on food plots, please, please, please expand to your woods if you have woods. If not, just do the best you can with what you got. All right, guys, I hope this helps, and you all have a fantastic day.